All right. Hey, everyone. I'm trying to get my camera and my stream to all like each other at the moment, and I apologize for all of this movement because what I thought I set up actually is not working. Okay, hopefully that's good now. Okay, howdy, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to just check that I'm live over here. And again, I apologize for all that movement that you might see at the beginning of this. I'll try and cut it out when I actually upload this. And I'm just seeing if I can find myself live so that I can look to see if anyone leaves any comments today. Hopefully everyone's having a great Sunday. I'm really excited about this live because I really loved this. There we go. Okay, I think I found myself. All right, yes, all looking good. Let me just make sure my volume's off. There we go. Okay, so I am really excited. When I opened up this paper pack earlier this week, the Autumn to Remember is, I loved it when I looked at it in the catalog and the online brochure. And then when I got it, I loved it even more. And I didn't want to wait to cut into it. And I thought this, and the other thing that I really liked is that the three layouts that were designed, I also liked. So it was one of those things where I could immediately create without having to think about, okay, how do I want to tweak this, or how do I want to change it up, or do I want to substitute something instead. And so for me, this was sort of the perfect opportunity to sort of introduce maybe people who hadn't been with Close to My Heart before and hadn't used the workshop guides and hadn't really gone through the process, or maybe you're coming back to scrapbooking after years of not doing scrapbooking and you're a little intimidated about the process or how you're going to do it and how it's going to work for you. And I absolutely love this kit, like I said, and I liked the layouts. I thought that they were really great layouts and that I was really excited to cut into this. So I thought we would walk through today, how do you cut, how do you use the workshop guide, how do you cut, and then how do you do, we're going to do this first layout number 1 today. And I did print out a picture, one of the pictures. We went to Hawaii for Thanksgiving a few years ago, and I had this beautiful picture, and when I looked at it with the papers, I thought this might work. So I may decide to change my mind on that. I only did print out this one picture because, as I've said in the past, my children have kindly requested that I do not put photos on my layouts with them in it, and all my other pictures definitely have them in it from the pumpkin patches and fall activities that we've done. So this one was sort of more neutral and I was able to pull it out, but I did want to see if I could get this one possibly to work. All right, so that's my picture. This is the cutting guide, and then I have all of the pieces that are part of the kit here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk through this a little bit. So there is a featured technique using the Stampin' Write markers, and the Stampin' Write markers that they've used are the Cajun Craze and Crushed Curry and Old Olive. And what they've done is, and it's going to be really hard to see, but they've done some detail work on the the wood grain die cut punch outs that are part of this kit. So they've added that little bit of extra on top of it using the Stampin' Write markers. Now, I don't happen to have the Stampin' Write markers, but we are going to go ahead and try that technique, and I'm going to use my what are these? What are they called? These are the tri-blends that I do have. And so we're going to see if we can maybe do a little bit with that using what we have in my inventory. And I highly encourage you to use what you have. You don't need to buy everything. Okay, you probably have enough things in your stash. You probably even have a autumn paper pack or a fall paper pack in your stash, and you can do this using that uh, those supplies without buying anything else. So even though I'm showing with this new autumn to remember, you can use whatever you have in your stash, and I do encourage that. Okay, um, so we're going to do layout one. We are going to do the featured technique, and it does talk about all the materials that you need. You obviously need some sort of paper and sticker sheet if you've got it. A basic black Stampin' Write marker or a black marker, again, the Stampin' Write markers that I talked about. Some sort of adhesive. I am going to be using my Tombow and my Close to My Heart adhesive because that's what I have handy. Glue dots, paper trimmer, and scissors. So those are the pieces that you need. On the photos are calling for project one, 2 3x4s that are portrait, so up and down, and 1 4x6 landscape. And again, you can change this. You could put 2 3x4s here. You could change this to a 4x6. You could add an additional photo and move the journaling to another spot. So again, you can play around with this, but I am going to make it as it's designed today and show you that. The other projects use 3x3 photos, 4x4 photos, and 4x6. And then the project 3 uses 3x3s and a 4x6. So again, the combination of photos there. All right, so we're going to turn this over and we are going to get started. And so we are going to need to cut our paper. So this is going to be a little bit of a long live because we are going to do paper cutting and then we're going to do assembly. I have not pre-cut this paper. The reason I want to do that is I want to walk you through the process of using these guides and how you cut. So roughly when you do one of these workshops, it's going to take you about 3 hours between the paper cutting, prepping, doing all of that, and then doing the assembly. It's going to take you about 3 hours to do all 3 layouts. That's a rough number. Sometimes you'll go faster, sometimes you'll go slower, just depending on how intricate the paper cuts are and how much you decide to change it up. But that's a good gauge for how much time you need. You do not need to do it all in one sitting. Once you've cut your paper and marked it and you have all the pieces, then all you need to do is find another hour to, say, put the layout together. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the paper cutting and we are going to determine what we need to cut and what we don't need to cut. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my photo placeholders and I'm going to just put those aside. I do not need those right now. I also do not need the sticker sheet right now, so I'm going to put that aside. And then I'm going to look at the cutting guide and I'm going to look at the papers. So the first paper I'm going to cut is the tree paper with on one side and the woodland animals on the other side. And I'm hoping that I can bring this up close enough that you can see that the tree is the front and the back is going to be the woodland animals. And the orientation, the cut orientation is showing the trees going sideways. It is really important that when you're looking at these cutting guides, that if there is an orientation to the paper, that you're paying attention to that while you're doing the cutting. Okay, so you'll notice the orientation has the trees going sideways on this first cut. But on the second paper, the trees are going up and down, vertical, on this, cutting this second piece of paper. So like I said, it is really important that you're paying attention to the orientation. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and pulled out my papers and I have set them up so that the orientation for the cuts is what it's showing me on the cutting guide. So the first piece of paper I'm going to cut, I've got the orientation going where the trees are going horizontally. And then my second paper that I need to cut for this, the trees are going vertically. Okay, so I know that when I pick this up and I start cutting, I am set to go. And this is my first cut. All right. And then I'm going to do that for all of my other papers. So the same thing, I'm going to look at my next paper, and the front is not the plaid, but the lines, I don't know what you want to call it, it's almost like a grid paper. The grid is the front, and on the back are the trees. And you'll notice again, the grid and the back has the trees going vertically, versus the next cut that I need to do for the trees. The trees are the front and they're going horizontally. Now with the grid paper, it doesn't really matter, but you want to make sure that when you are laying out your papers to get ready to cut, that you have the papers going in the direction that is indicated on the cutting guide. So in this case, I need to rotate this one because again, this is showing that the trees are going horizontally. So the trees are going vertically on my first cut, the trees are going horizontally on my next cut. Okay, so I'm going to then put that as my second paper I need to cut. Then the third one is the trees that do not have leaves, or the sticks, however you want to look at it. And in both of these, the orientation and the paper, we're using the tree side, and the trees are going vertically. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull those out so they are vertical, and I'm going to add that to my stack. All right, so there's a few more pages of things that we need to cut. And feel free if you have questions to ask, and I'll keep looking over my shoulder just to see if anyone has any questions. But just going to the next page, there is an exclusive paper that we're going to trim down. So this exclusive paper is that paper that is the wood grain. And it looks like the wood grain, if you look at this, they've got the grain going horizontally. So we want to make sure that we're rotating this paper so that the wood grain is going horizontally on both of these pieces. Okay, so we've got that one set, so we'll put that in our stack. The next specialty exclusive paper is the paper that has the diamonds on it, and those diamonds again are going horizontally. So we want the long part of the diamond going going vertically, sorry. We don't want them going horizontally. So we're just going to make sure our paper is rotated correctly there, and we're going to lay that in our pile. And then the last paper is the exclusive striped paper, and the stripes are going up and down vertically. So we're just going to leave this one in that direction. Okay, so now we've got all of our patterned paper laid out exactly the way we need it to be laid out in order to start our cutting. The only other thing that we need to cut is our white willow cardstock. The other cardstock is going to be used as our base. So we'll just pull out our 2 white willow pieces and we'll add them to the back of that. And we will set all the other colored cardstock as well as the die cuts and the wood grain ephemera. We're going to put that off to the side where we have our sticker sheet. All right, so now we are set. We are ready to get going with our actual cutting. So going back to the first page with our cutting guide, we are going to be making 3 cuts of this paper. We are going to do an 8 by 5 cut and an 8 by 7 cut, and then we're going to have a 3.5 by 10 cut. And you can see that we have these scissors. That is going to indicate our first cut that we need to make. So we are going to make this cut first, all the way down. We're going to go all the way down to the end of the paper at the 8 mark on our trimmer. So it's 8 by 5. That's our first dimension is 8, and then it's 5 will be the second cut. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our trimmer. make sure that we got this all in frame. Now remember, we have to look at make sure our orientation is still right. And our trees, that's the top or the front. That's where we're gonna be laying it in our trimmer, and the trees need to be going horizontal. All right, so I'm gonna grab my trees, and my first cut is an 8. So I'm gonna open up my trimmer here. Give myself just a smidge bit more room here. And I'm gonna grab my paper. I actually think I'm going to move my paper just a little bit so that I can get a little bit more in frame here. And we are going to go to the 8 mark on our trimmer, which is right here. And we had to open up the arm in order to get to the 8. So we're going to go ahead and go to the 8. Line our paper up with that line. And we're going to do our first cut. Okay? So that's our first cut. And now we're going to rotate this so that we can do this cut here. So we can get the 5 and the 7. So we're going to rotate this, and we're going to go to our 5 mark. And we're going to cut that. And now we have our 2 pieces for our layout 2. So this is saying, when we look at this, 2C and 2F, and there is no asterisk, which means that we are going to be using this side of the paper. This side of the paper is what we're going to be using for that layout. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to just mark this with a pencil, 2C and 2F, because I may not make the layout right away, and I want to know what these papers are. So I'm just using a pencil, and I'm marking it on the back side of that paper. And I'm going to set that aside. Okay, so my next cut, I am going to be using this side of the paper, and this side doesn't really have a orientation. So I am able to just cut it. One of the things that I probably would have done with this layout is I probably would have used this side of the paper versus the back side to use on the layout for this picture. And so, but because of the way that the cutting guide worked, I would have had to rearrange it quite a bit in order to get the layout to work, or to get the cuts to work. And part of my goal with this live was just to show you how to use the cutting guide. So I am going to go ahead and just follow the guide and not make any changes. And then I can play around a little bit with it potentially as I'm finding the pictures that I want to use. So this one is a 3.5 by 10 inch cut. So my first cut is 3.5. So again, I'm going to come to the 3.5 mark on my trimmer, and I'm going to trim off that piece. Now this is what's called scrap or leftover, but this can be used. This is a nice 1/2 inch strip that can be used on another layout. So it's not really scrap unless you don't want to make another layout. But I'm going to put that in what I would call my scrap pile. All right, so my second cut is going to be the 10. So again, I'm going to come over to the 10 on my trimmer, and I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. And then again, that's going to go in my scrap pile. And now I've got this piece, but you'll notice that it has an asterisk, 1C, which means I'm going to be using the back side. So I'm going to mark this on this side as 1C. And I'm going to then put this in my piles ready to go. So I've got a pile 1, I've got a pile 2, and I've got a pile 3 for each of the layouts. So I've got 3 separate piles. All right, so now we're going to move on to, our second cut is this one. And the orientation of the paper, the trees need to be up and down, vertical. And so our first cut here is going to be 4 inches. Here, and 11.5. So we're going to rotate this and put it in at 11.5, and we're going to trim off the bottom. If Again, this is going to go in our scrap pile. This we are going to mark, we're going to use the front of this, so we're going to flip it over and mark this as 3B. And that will go in our third pile. And we have to do that same cut again, so 4. The nice thing about this particular workshop kit is that this is 11.5 is our second cut, is that these are really simple cuts and we're not using a lot of paper, fancy paper or fancy things. So this is a really good beginner scrapbook workshop. This is 3K. For someone getting just back into scrapbooking or someone who wants a quick layout, set of layouts to do. All right, so this is a 3.5 by 10. So we're going to go ahead and cut 3.5 here. Again, we've got a nice 1/2 inch strip that we can use somewhere else. And then we're going to trim this to 10. So this is the 10. And this is going to be used on layout. This again has 1J, but it has the asterisk, which means we're going to be using the animal side of the paper. So we're going to mark this as 1J. Okay, and then this is our scrap pile. Okay, so that set of papers is now cut. So now we're going to come and we're going to cut our next set of papers, which is the grid paper. We want to make sure again that our trees are going the right direction. So I need to flip this because I picked it up and I flipped it wrong. So we want to just double check that our trees are going in the right direction. And this one is really simple. We're doing 2 6 by 12 pieces. Again, the scissors are marking our cut. So this is a really simple cut of 6 by 12. And we will mark these as we're going to be using the front side, so the grid size. So we're going to be marking this as 2A and 2D. So this is going to go in our 2 group. And then we're going to grab our paper, our next one, and this is, we want to make sure that we're cutting on the triangle side and we want the triangles to go horizontally. So this one is one of our more complicated cuts. This is, I think, the first complicated cut we've had. So the scissors, the first piece is 4.5 by 10. But you can see this dotted line down here at the bottom. That means you can cut all the way to the bottom of that page. You can make that full cut. And then we're going to get these 2 pieces out of the scrap that's left after we do the cut of 10. So 4 by 10, 4.5 by 10. So the first cut is 4.5. And then we're going to rotate this and we're going to cut this to 10. But we want to save this piece because we're going to use that piece. We're going to cut into that piece. So in this case, 1K is going to use the trees. So we're going to flip that over and we're going to put 1K here. And then we're going to take this piece that was left. Again, we still want the orientation to be the trees going sideways. We are going to do a 2 by 2 square. So this is already 2 inches. So all we're doing is putting this in and doing we're doing a square, 2 by 2. And then we've got a 2-inch square. So 2 this way by 1.5. That's going to be our second cut here. And then we will have a little bit of a scrap left over. Okay, so we got to mark these. So this one, we're going to use the back side. So we're going to be using the grid. So we're going to mark this one on the tree side as 3G. And this one, we're going to be using the tree side because there's no asterisk. So we're going to mark this one as 3S. Okay, and that will go in our piles for the 3s. Okay, So the next piece we need to cut from what's left is the 5 by 7 1/4. So we're going to do our first cut. Again, tree orientation going horizontal. And we'll go ahead and go to the 5. This is left over, so we'll put that in our scrap pile. And then we're going to rotate this to 5 1/4. And this is going to be a scrap piece as well, so we'll put that off to the side. And this one we are going to be using the front. We're going to be using the trees, so we're going to mark this as 1E on the back side. Okay. So that is our second paper cut. So now we're going to come down and we're going to grab our tree paper. And we are going to go ahead and do those cuts. Now, hopefully this is making, this is fairly straightforward now. You guys kind of hopefully have an idea of how these cuts work, and really that, just by paying attention to, to the cutting guide, you should be able to get really simple cutting done for the layouts that we're making. So again, this is a 4 by 10 1/2. This is scrap. And this is going to be, we're going to use the back side of this first cut. So we're going to mark this as 1B on this side. And then we're going to do that cut again. So 4 by 10 1/2. Just doing a little bit of prep and paying attention. We are also going to use one, this is going to be used on the one on the back side, so we'll mark it there. By doing just a little bit and paying attention before you actually start your cuts will really help you make sure that you're doing your cuts correctly. Oops, I did that one wrong. Okay, since these are all the same size. Okay, so we're using the green side on those two, and on this one we are using the tree side. So this one is 2E. It makes it a whole lot easier to follow the guides once you've kind of got the understanding of how they work. All right, so this next cut is, again, a little bit more complicated. So we are going to cut at the 3 1/2 mark. We are going to be able to come down because the next piece, we're going to get out of the scrap at the bottom. We're going to be able to get 4 more pieces out of it, and we can come all the way down because we're not interfering with cutting those second pieces. So even though there isn't a dotted excuse me, even though there isn't a dotted line, you can cut all the way down that 3 1/2, all the way down to the bottom of that 3 1/2. All right, so just getting this in here like that. So 3 1/2 by 10. Okay, we're going to save that because we need to make a cut for that. This is going to be 1D, so we're using the green side. Okay, so this one we are going to cut a 1 1/2 by 2 inch. So we're going to start with 1 1/2 here. So first cut, and it should be 2 inches already, because it was a tail scrap, so that's great. And we are going to be using the front side of this, so this is 3H. There we go. And then we need to cut this at 1 1/2 as well. And we're going to have a little bit of a scrap left on this piece, so we'll put that in our scrap pile. And we're going to be using the tree side as well, so this is 3T. All right, so we're going to do that same thing again, 3 1/2. Three and a half by 10. And this, we are going to use the tree side, so this is 1, I don't know if that's, I think that's an I, 1I. And then we're going to cut this 1 1/2. We're going to do 2 1 1/2 inch cuts. All right. And this is scrap. So both of these we are using, okay, so we're using the opposite side this time, so that's going to be on the tree side, 3I and 3U. Put that in our 3 pile. And then we have one more cut to do here, which is a 4-inch cut. And this is going to be leftover, so we'll put that in our scrap pile. And this is going to be 10.5. And again, this will be our scrap. And in this case, we're going to be using the tree side, so we're going to mark this as 2B. All right. So we've finished those cuts. So the next cuts we need to do are the exclusive papers. So again, we want our orientation where the lines are going horizontal for the tree, or the tree paper. It's not tree paper, but wood grain paper. That's the word I'm looking for. So this, we are going to be trimming off the edges, which is, we're going to make this an 11.5 by 11.5 square. So we're going to go to the 11.5. And remember, this is a one-sided paper, so there isn't any anything on the back side that we have to worry about. So we're going to take that, and again, we've got a nice little 1/2-inch scrap there. We're going to do 11.5. And I will tell you that I am going to be gutting this paper when I get to this layout. I'm not going to need, this is for layout 1. In fact, we'll just take a look at that right now. So layout 1, you can see that there is a bunch of paper that is not going to be seen because we're laying these pieces down. And those pieces are 10-inch long pieces or 10.5-inch long pieces. So I actually don't need, I'm not going to need all of this paper to be hidden or to be underneath that other paper because it's not going to be seen. And so when I look at this, I actually want to save some of this paper to use on another layout. And I have got looks like about a 1/2 inch border here. Let's just double check. Let's see, 3/4, 1/4 of an inch in, well, looks like it's only 1/4 of an inch. No, 3/4 of an inch from the edge. Yeah, so that's 1/4, another 1/4. So yeah, so anyway, just looking at it, I can actually gut out this section on both of these pieces of paper, and I can save that for something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in at the 1-inch mark here on the right-hand side, because again, these pieces are going right to the top of that paper. So I can gut down here and across, and realizing that these are 10-inch pieces that I'm going to dovetail. So I'm going to go down to probably about 8. So I'm going to come over 1 inch and I'm going to go down to 8, and I am going to take out that square. And that will give me a really good landing place for those pieces, but will also allow me to utilize this paper in another layout. So I'm going to come down on my rail trimmer here down to the 8. I probably could come even down to the 8.5, but I'm going to just be cautious and I'm going to just go to the 8. All right. And then I'm going to flip this and I'm going to stick it in at 8, which is where I ended. And I'm going to go up to the 1, which is where I started on this piece, and I'm going to come down to the 10. Is it to 10.5 actually? Because this is 11.5. So if I leave an inch, it would be the 10.5. So that's going to leave me an inch there. And again, I'm going to rotate this, and I'm going to just come and put it in at the inch mark on this side. And we're going to come down to the 8 on this side. Now, like I said, I probably could have taken out a little bit more, but that's still a pretty usable piece that I can use on another layout. And this is going to then be my one, what's the number on this one? 1A. So this is my 1A. I'm going to do the same thing that I just did with the 1G. All right, so the 1G, I'm going to go ahead and trim this at 11.5. I'm getting those 1/2 inch strips off first. Half inch. Now I'll go into my scrap pile. I'm going to rotate it and then do 11.5 again. And then I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to go in to the right of my trimmer to the 1 inch. And I'm going to come down to the 8. Then I'm going to rotate this. And I'm going to put it in at the 8 inch mark at the top, up here. And I'm going to go to the 1 inch mark on my rail. And I'm going to come then down to 10.5. Because it's an 11.5 piece and I want a 1 inch cut there. Then I'm going to turn it back again and I'm going to put it in on the 1 inch side to the left of the cutter. And we're going to come down to the 8. And now I have successfully created a gutted piece of paper that I'm going to be able to use on this layout, and this is my 1G. All right, so my next piece is going to be this exclusive paper with the diamonds on it, and the first cut is going to go all the way to the bottom, and that's at 9. So we're going to put this in, making sure that our diamonds are going vertical. Pull that off because we're going to make some cuts for that. The second cut is a 7.5. I always like to say, look at the measurements twice because you only want to cut once. And again, with the specialty paper, you can't replace this paper. All right, so 3N and 3E are used. There is only one side to the paper, so you're obviously going to use this side. So this one is 3N. And this one is 3E. So we'll put that in our 3 pile. And then this piece we're going to cut to 1.5 by 11.5. 1.5. So we get 2 of those by 11.5. I do have to say I do like this Stampin' Up! Trimmer. This is scrap, so we'll put that over there. This is 3A. It is a really nice, clean rail trimmer, I have to say. I was skeptical about getting another trimmer, and I've been pleasantly happy with how straight it cuts and how nice it is. Okay, this is 3J. Okay, so this is going to go in my 3 pile. All right, so we have one specialty paper left to do, which is our striped paper, and this is going to get 2 cuts as well. So the first cut is going to be at 6. Remember, orientation. This is an orientation paper, so you want to make sure that you're matching the orientation that is showing on the cutting guide, which is in this case vertical. So we're going to do that first cut, and then we're going to rotate it, and this is going to be 11.5. And then this is a scrap, and this is going to be 3C. And then we'll do this guy with 11.5. And this will be 3L. Okay, and this is scrap. All right, so we only have a little bit left to cut. We're almost done with the cutting. How long did that take us? That took us about 40 minutes, and I've been talking. If I had been cutting this, you know, without having to do all the talking, I probably would have been done in 30 minutes. Again, this is a pretty easy cutting guide, and lots of very basic cuts. All right, so I've got my white willow, and my first cut is gonna be at 3 1/8. 3 1/8. So, when you're looking at your trimmer, there are lots of little lines. You've got some big lines and some small lines. So each line, if it's a short line, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm trying to make sure that I've got this right in my head because I forgot that these were eighths. So 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 9/8. So the first short line is an eighth, is a 16th. The second, the next line over is an eighth. So the first line is a 16th. That is after the whole number. So the first short line that you see there is a 16th. Then the next line that's a little bit longer is an eighth, and then another 16th. So there's 16 16ths. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's 16 to the next whole number. So again, this is 1/16 is that first line after the whole number, and then the second line after is an eighth. So 1/8 is that second line, and then the fourth line is 2/8, and the fifth line is 3/8. Okay, so I'm hoping that makes sense. It's hard to see, I know, but again, if you just look, the first line is always going to be the 16th, the second line is always going to be the 8th, and then you just count that longer tick line to know how many eighths that you need. Like if something says 3/8, you're going to go to the third medium-sized tick line. So small, medium, large, and then you have your half. So I'm hoping that makes sense. Okay, so this is 3/8 by 3/8. So again, we're going to that second mark, that second line on the after the whole number. So that's our first one, and we're going to do 3 of these. These are going to be our placeholders for the photos, just so that you know what we're cutting here. And this is going to be extra, so we've got 3 of these that are going to go in pile 3. And then we're going to have a bigger photo, or a bigger space, which is 7 1/4 by 9 1/4. So 7 1/4. And this is going to be extra, so we'll set that aside, by 9 1/4. And this is going to go also in pile 3. That's going to be part of our layout number 3. Okay, so we also have a few more cuts that we need to do for this. So this is going to be 4 1/4 is the next cut we need, and we are going to go all the way down on that one, and then 6 1/4. Now this is one thing that I do like about the Stampin' Up! Is they've actually got some, it's not printed, it's actually engraved into the plastic of this, where you actually have the lines and you don't have to guess, which is really, really nice, because in other rulers you would have had to have guessed where the 6 1/4 is, and it's hard to see, but when you look at the ruler, I know that 6 1/4 is right here. There's the half mark, and I can see the sizes of the lines, and I know that that is a quarter right there. And I know you won't be able to see this on camera, but believe me when I tell you, they're actually marked there, which is really, really nice. All right, so now we need 3 1/8 again. So we're going to go to that second mark past the whole number. Get another piece of scrap and 3 1/8. All right, that's scrap, and that's going to go in my 3s. And then we have one more cut to make, which is 7 3/4, which is the size of this, what's left of this paper, so we don't have to make that cut. So now we're going to do 9 1/4, and that's left over. And this is also going to go in our 3 pile. Okay, we are all done with the cutting, and we can now move on to actual assembly. So let me put this away. I might use it again for the other pieces of paper, but for right now, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and make sure that we've got all of our pieces kind of assembled together. So this is my pile 3. We had a lot of pieces for layout number 3, so I'm going to just kind of gather those up, make sure that I've got them all organized. And there's another 3. We need that there. This is for layout 1. We're just going to make sure, because my piles kind of got messed up. This is for layout 2, layout 1, layout 1, layout 2, layout 1, layout 1. This is why you label things. Layout 1. Because sometimes what happens is exactly what happened to me, which is that my pieces kind of got mixed up where I was storing them, and they got put together. This should be layout. I think this is layout 1. Nope, that's layout 2. Layout 1. Layout 1. Layout 1. Okay, there we go. All right, so these are my layout number 2s. And these are my layout number 3s. And I'm going to just put these aside because I'm not going to be doing those today. I will do those another day. So I'm not going to do all 3 layouts today. We're just going to do layout number 1. Okay, so now we have our pieces for layout number 1. And we are going to flip the page, and we're going to start talking about gathering our pieces for creating the left side of the layout. So, as I said, there is some preparation to do using the Stampin' Write markers if you want to do that preparation on the wood grain die cuts. So the wood grain die cuts that came as part of this kit, they're pulling out a number of the leaves as part of the wood grain die cuts. So when I'm looking at this, I've got some maple leaves. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 2 of the maple leaves and then 3 of the other leaves. So we're going to just find our maple leaves here on the die. Looks like they're the smaller ones, so it's this one here. So we're going to pull that guy out. And this one here, so I think it's these 2 smaller ones. And then I believe it's this one here. This one here. Need 3 of these. And I'm looking for that 3rd one that's that style. And I'm not seeing it readily here. Am I just missing it? Oh, there it is. I was. Okay, so that is the left side. And then on the right side, it's the triangle. I can't tell which of the triangles this is. Might be that one. And then the leaf this one I think. Again, it's hard to tell sizes, but we're going to do that one. And then there should be a little shorty guy. I think this is the one here from the looks of it. Okay, so I think these are all the pieces from the die, the wood grain die sheet. So we're going to put this away because they do pop out easy and you don't want to lose them by accident. So these are the pieces that we need to do some preparation on first. So we're going to take those and pull those off to the side. And we're going to do that preparation. Now, what they are saying to do is they want you to use the Cajun Craze, crushed curry, and old olive. Now, like I said, I don't have all of those colors, but I'm going to use my tri blends. I think I'm going to use the gold brown. I think that one will work really well. Let's see. I think red brown might work because that's going to go well. And now I need a green. And I'm not sure if I want dull green. I'm going to just look at my pens one more time and see if I see another green that I might want. There is a yellow green. I'm going to just bring in the old olive cardstock and I'm going to just sort of see which of these I think will work best. I do think the dull green probably does work the best. Let me just double check. I'm going to just look through my other pens. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. That looks the best to me. So I think when I look at the paper, the yellow green would work, but I actually think I like the dull green. I like the dull green if I'm using the light side. I like the yellow green if I'm using the dark side. Hopefully everybody can see that, see the differences. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the yellow-green blend. All right, decisions made. All right, so then what they've done is they've just added some highlights to the edges of the leaves, and it's kind of hard to see on this picture. So if you go back to the front picture, where it's a little bit bigger, you can see where they've added some of the color to the tips of the leaves. So essentially what they've done, and I don't know if this will show up better on white. It might show up better if I pull out this white piece. So let me do that. And I'm going to do it on this bigger, on these bigger pieces. So on the triangle tree, I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use the medium of the, I'm going to just test that out. Yeah, I think I'm going to use the medium, the mid of the green, not the dark. Essentially, we've just taken this and we've drawn a line up the side of this tree. That's it. Just giving it some highlight on that one side. And then doing the same thing on this tree, and we're going to take the red-brown blend. I think I might use the dark on that one. Again, they're using more of a red color on that. Let me just double check if I want to change this up maybe to something a little bit more red. I think coral is too orangey. Tan doesn't work. Burnt orange. What about burnt orange? No, too orangey. Let me pull out the coral. That one might work. I think the dark red is too dark. I don't think I want that kind of red. Okay, let's take a look at those two as another options, because this is really popping as red here, and so I just want to see, do I like, I think that one might work really well. I think this is going to be too Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, so I actually, instead of using the red brown blend, I am going to use Coral Shades, and I'm going to use, I believe I pulled medium. Yeah, the medium, and I think that's going to stand out really nice here. So again, we're just going to outline that left side. Like so. Just adding some color there. All right, and then the last one is going to be our golden brown, and we're gonna, I think I'm gonna use the dark side of that. Yep, dark of that. And we're just going to highlight, in this case, we're highlighting each of these leaves, or each of these sections here, like so. And like I said, this is not required. You do not have to do any of this. All right? You do not have to, these work perfectly fine by themselves. You do not have to do any embellishment on these dies, or these pieces. So it's just an optional technique. So if you don't have pens like this, then don't do it. No one's going to know that this wasn't supposed to be on there. Okay? That's the beauty of this, is that this is all optional, because these particular pieces are very much, let's see, did I do that color? No, I think I did the light. These pieces stand fine on their own. But like I said, I wanted to walk through the process of doing everything that is in the instructions, so that you can understand what you want to do and what you want to take away, or what you want to add to your layout. What is appealing to you, and what do you like? Okay. All right. So again, the colors that I used the yellow green blend, I used the Coral Shades, and I used the gold brown. Gold brown blends. So those are the three that I used. Trying to use stash stuff. Okay, so those are all prepped. So that was the first instruction that we had. So the next instruction that we need to go to, at this point, we just need to set these aside, off to the side, because those are our embellishments. Those will be after we're done with everything else. So now we're going to walk through the assembly. So use the light old olive cardstock for the base, and we're starting with the left side, so that's this. And they want us to use the light side. So remember, we have two sides. We have a dark side and a light side. All right. Now, I am going to pull out my trimmer again. I don't need this whole piece of paper. Okay, I don't need it, because it is not going to be seen. And this gets bulky when you're scrapbooking. This will get bulky as you are going through and adding all these layers. So I am going to again go to the right. I'm going to go to the 1 inch mark. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, because I did the 1 inch mark on the other piece. So I think I'm going to go to 1.5. Do I want 1/2 inch? Maybe I'll do 2. Maybe I'll do 2. I'm going to do 2. That will give me a nice solid piece to lay these pieces on. So that means I'm going to come down to the 2 on my rail. So I'm doing a 2 inch over, and then 2 inch down. And then I'm going to come to the 10, because that's 2 inches above the bottom of the 12 inch piece of paper. And I'm going to rotate, put it back in at the 2, go to the 2 inch mark on my rail, down to the 10. Make sure I've got the cut going all the way through there. And then I'm going to rotate it again, 2 inch mark, bring it down at the 2, bring it to the 10. Just double check that we made the cut all the way. Yep. And then the last rotation, 2-inch mark. 2 and 2. There you go. And now I've got this piece that I can use on something else. So again, it's going to go over to my scrap pile. Okay. This is a way of conserving paper as well as eliminating bulk in your layouts. All right, so we are going to put a little bit of adhesive down on my Versamat to lock this in place. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm only going to work on one side at the time. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull this over just a little bit. And I want to make sure I'm on my light side. And I'm just putting a little bit of adhesive down so that this doesn't move while I'm trying to put all of my elements on. So I don't think I got enough down. It's not locking in place there. Let's try that. Okay. There we go. All right, so we are now set. So that was our first piece. Use the light. Attach 1A following the instructions. So 1A is going to be our specialty wood grain paper. So we're going to attach this. And what it's saying is I need to be over 1/4 inch from the left side and 1/4 inch down from the top. All right. So we're going to put adhesive on this. Okay, so again, what I want to show you is it shows you right here, it's showing you 1/4 inch from the left and 1/4 inch from the top. And hopefully you can see that on the page. So I'm going to use my Versamat to help me, and I could pull out a ruler. I could pull out a ruler and say, okay, this is my T-square ruler, and I can put that at 1/4 inch here so that I know that I am lined up, and I'm going to use my marks on my Versamat as best as I can, trying to be straight here. Okay, that looks good. Yep, that looks good. Yep, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now we've got our 1A down, which was that specialty paper. Now we're going to dovetail 1B, 1C, and 1D. Okay, so 1B, 1C, and 1D. So this is 1B, 1C, and 1D are the 3 that I need. So those are the 3 that I need, and we're going to dovetail these. So we know that that's going to be on that side. Hold on, we're using that side, and this side. Okay, so this is the layout that we've got, and we're going to dovetail that. So we're just going to take our scissors. And dovetailing, you can get really fancy and measure. I'm going to eyeball where I think the middle of this piece of paper is. And again, this is a let's see, this is a 3.5 inch piece. So roughly right about here, I'm going to cut up on this. And then I'm going to cut into the sides, from the sides into that middle piece to create that dovetail. Okay. Just like that. You could also, if you wanted, you could fold this and cut up the middle, but I don't like the bend. So this piece is a 4-inch piece, so it'd be about 2 inches Let me just see, am I close? No, I knew I was off by just a smidge. We're going to go over just a little bit more. And we're going to cut up. And I'm cutting up about what I would say maybe a 1/2 inch on this. I do find the right side of the angle the hardest side to cut. For whatever reason, I always get it a little bit off and it kind of looks wonky sometimes. Need to clean it up, but there we go. Okay, put that over there. And then the last piece again is 3.5. So you're going to do about 1 3/4 and go up about a 1/2 inch. The farther you go up, the deeper the dovetail is. Okay, so if you really like an extreme angle on the dovetail, then you can go up higher than a 1/2 inch. If you want a more flat dovetail, then you go a little bit lower. Okay, so we've got our 3 dovetailed pieces. We're all set there. And now we're going to attach E. 1E. So 1E, 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 1E. They didn't mark 1E. Oh, 1E. There we go. Okay. Oh, we're going to dovetail and attach. I missed the attach part. All right. My husband just got home, so I have a feeling my dogs are going to start going off here in a minute. So I do apologize for that. Okay, so we are going to attach, and looking at this, the way that this is set is that these are overlapping each other, and so the green piece is going underneath the green piece is going underneath the 2 outside pieces. So when we're gluing this down, what we want to make sure is that we give ourselves some space to tuck that under. So we want to not necessarily go all the way to the edge of that piece because we know we need to tuck under this other piece. And the nice thing is we know that we're going to lay it right up against the top of this piece, and it's going to be 3/4 of an inch in. So 3/4 of an inch. We're going to just again use our Versamat here. We're going to get 3/4 of an inch, which is this mark right here on the Versamat. We're going to cover the top of our paper. I feel like we're not quite at 3/4 visually there. Again, if you really are wanting to be precise, you can pull out your T ruler and use that, just like that. Once you get the first piece in place, now remember we've actually got, I shouldn't have put all that glue right here because we actually didn't need it. We only needed it at the ends here. But in fact, I'm going to pull this up and we are going to find my rub and remove eraser, which I thought I had right handy here, but I'm not seeing it. There it is. We're going to get our rub and remove, and we're actually going to remove a bunch of adhesive because we have a bunch of gaps and we don't want this adhesive sticking to stuff where it doesn't need to stick. So we're going to make some adjustments here to the adhesive. All this adhesive I have in the middle assumed I had paper underneath it, which I don't have. So the rub and remove eraser is a really good way to get rid of the adhesive. And this is also still why I'm using the Close to My Heart adhesive and not the Stampin' Up! Adhesive, because I really don't feel like I can do this manipulation with the adhesive from Stampin' Up! And in scrapbooking, it's kind of important to be able to do that. All right, so what I'm going to do is, I know this is going to go down on this side, so I'm going to go ahead and put a bunch of adhesive up this one side and make sure I've got adhesive across the top, and then down here on the bottom pieces that are going to be touching this piece. Okay, so let's go back. Let's put this T-square on the 3/4, and then we can lay this down like so, and we know that we've got the adhesive where we need it on this left side. Okay, same thing here. I'm going to put adhesive on the top and actually on the bottom. So, and because this is going to be underneath, I can put a whole bunch down there, and then I'm going to put it down here. Oh, just ran out of adhesive. Grab another guy. Okay, so we're going to slide that under this piece and line it up with the top. And it looks like we're doing, it doesn't really say, but I would, so it's saying 4 inches in. So we're coming 4 inches in from the left-hand side is where this should land roughly. And I'm pretty close to that. I would say that that looks pretty good. So again, when you're looking at the instructions, see it says 4 inches from the far side here. So I'm using the 4-inch mark on my mat. All right, so my last piece is going to get adhesive again. This is going to overlay on top of this piece, so I can go all the way across, and then I'm going to come down here and then do the flag part, or this piece. Did I do that right? Ah, I did it wrong. Did the wrong side. Sorry, guys. Good old rub and remove eraser. Just make sure that we don't have too much residue there. All right, so this is the side I need the adhesive on here. Okay, and we're going to lay this on top, and it's supposed to be about 3/4 again from the edge of the right side over here. So I'm just using my Versamat mark here and using that. Okay, so these pieces are done. So now I need to attach E, so 1E, which should be this one. It is, and this is the trees. So we are going to attach this. I'm trying to decide. I don't think that we're going to pop this up. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and just add adhesive, because I'm not seeing that we need to put anything underneath this, so I can just add a bunch of adhesive. And it is going to be 2.5 down from the top. So again, using it's 2.5 down from the top and 2.25 in from the left. So I'm being very precise, more precise than I normally am. Normally I eyeball this, but being the first time that we're using these, I want to try and be precise for you guys who are watching. All right, so this is going to be 2.5 down. So 1, 2.5. So roughly I'm going to be right about here. That's what it looks like. So I'm 2.25 over and 2.5 down. And that's where I'm going to lay 1E. Then I can attach my photo. So this is where my photo would go, or I can grab my photo placeholders and put my photo placeholder down here. And I would probably use my photo placeholder and then trim up my photo a little bit so that I have this white border. So I'm going to add my photo placeholder for right now here in the middle. Like that. Okay. All right, so now we're going to pull out our die cuts. So we have a number of die cuts. So we're going to go to our die cut sheet. And our die cut sheet, we are going to need a few die cuts. We're going to need the circle die cut, which is this one right here. So we're going to pull this guy out. And I didn't pull these apart first because I didn't want to lose pieces. I tend to lose pieces on my desk. I don't know if that happens to anybody else, but I do lose pieces on my desk. And so I do try to minimize how many little pieces I have out on my desk at one time so that I don't lose them. I've tried using like little bins to keep things in. I don't know. Doesn't always work for me. So anyway, in this case, I just kept the die sheets together so that I didn't have to worry about losing pieces. You do need to pop out these little center sections here. Oh, now my husband's home. My dogs are going to go off. I apologize for that noise in the background. In fact, I'm going to probably go close my door so that it's less noisy. All right, so I'm just taking out all of the extra little pieces that are part of this circle. I probably won't save these. This is not something that I'm going to save, these little pieces. In fact, I'm going to just throw them on the ground. I will pick them up. All right, so that's all I needed from this side. If you turn over, oh, actually, no, I have another project one. If you turn it over, it's going to tell you all the pieces that you need for all of the projects. So we do need this, this piece here. We need this piece here that says project 1. And we need this piece over here, which is going to go on the other side. And again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer any questions about the scrapbooking workshops or anything else. Here's another project 1 that you have about this particular kit and how I'm putting it together. Okay, so the next one is this, and we're looking again for project 1. So these chevrons are part of project 1. So it's really nice because you get all of them all marked out for you on these die cuts so that you don't have to worry about knowing which piece goes with which project. And again, you can choose to use these or not. That's up to you. If you don't like those particular embellishments, in fact, I know I've lost a particular embellishment that I'm going to have to go find because it popped out and I'm not seeing it here. So anyway, okay, so this I know is going to go on the other side. These go on this side. And then I've got this guy. I'm just looking again. Oh, and this one is also here. So that's again for the title. So I'm going to put those pieces over on the right hand side because I don't need those. And we're going to go ahead. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some adhesive to this circle. And we're going to put that down first because that's our starting point. And we want to get enough adhesive down that this is going to stick. So I'm actually using my all-purpose mat, but if you have any kind of silicone mat, you can do this kind of adhesive piece on that. Essentially all it does is it just means that it won't stick. So that you can get enough adhesive on your piece but not get it on your project, which is why I like having it sort of underneath my Versamats. Again, I'm trying to make sure that this is going to really stay down because it's got a lot of little pieces. So we're going to go ahead and take the ruler off. We don't need that anymore. And we are going to add this. We're going to try and center it as best we can. Okay. I think I'm not over to the right enough. There we go. Okay, I think that works. Okay, so now we're going to push that down like that. Okay, so then we can go ahead and lay down our other pieces. So we've got these chevrons here, like so. And then we have the chevrons going this direction, like so. And those I think I'm going to actually pop up on 3D foam tape. And I am going to, I've got the Stampin' Dimensionals, so I guess since I have those handy, I think I'll use those. So these aren't quite as thick as I normally would use on my scrapbook pages. I usually use a thicker foam tape, but for right now, I think these will work just fine because it's what I have handy. All right. So unfortunately, this is the part that is really the boring part, is putting the adhesive on and getting these things laid down. It's kind of the part where I have to have filler of conversation. So one of the things that that you can always do, I love these colors. I have I don't know, I sort of have like two colorways that I really really like. One is these rich golden browns and yellows and oranges as a color combination that I really, really love, along with these beautiful greens. And that is one, I'm kind of a sucker for any of these sort of fall layouts or fall papers because of that. The other colorway that I love is anything in the blues family. Anything that's going to be a blue turquoise, anything that's sort of a watercolor. Those are, again, colors that I absolutely gravitate towards all the time. And so it's always interesting when I look at, you know, products that are being released by any company, where I gravitate to, and which ends up being the most in my stash, the things that I will go to time and time and time again when I want to create. And that's why I think this particular paper pack kind of was my my Achilles heel, that I needed to buy this because I just I love these colors. I love how they put them together. I love how they look. Anyway, it's just, it's like I said, these colors tend to be the things that I gravitate towards a lot. Okay, so again, I am just adding these chevrons roughly where they have them on the layout picture here. And I did pop them up on 3D foam tape. This piece is going to be up here at the top. This is going to act like a title or a place where you could put a date or a little bit more information. So we're going to put that up here, like so. Again, I'm doing that flat because you're going to write on it, and so that is important that you don't try to pop that up, because when you go to write on it, it will be very difficult to write on. Okay, so we're going to add this little leaf here. That's part of the die cut, so we're going to add that. Kind of like so, I think. And then we're going to grab our pieces that we already created. So we need the three leaves and the 2 maple leaves, and so we're going to add those. I'm going to just go ahead again, just add adhesive to the backs of these. We're not going to go ahead and pop those up. We're going to leave those flat. Just make sure you get enough adhesive on them that they'll stay down. And again, I'm just following kind of the placement of where they have put these on the layout. I'm not going and looking at a different way to add them. So that can also be up to you and how you want to lay this out. You can change the location of some of these embellishment pieces. All right, so the last is going to come from the sticker sheet. So there are 2 stickers, the Golden Leaves Autumn Breeze, and then there is this little snail one here. I'm not sure I'm going to do that first saying, just because my picture, if I use this picture, doesn't really reflect Golden Leaves Autumn Breeze. This was in Hawaii. So I am going to do the snail one. I think I'll do that. And we're going to put that here underneath. Again, trying to center that like so. And I might use Story of the Day if that is not used on another layout. So I think I'll come back and pick out another saying once I know which of these stickers are going to be left. The last thing that we need to add is that we need to add in this piece down here at the bottom, which is also part of the sticker sheet. So we're going to grab this 12-inch sticker, and we are going to put that at the bottom. It actually didn't ask us to cut that. It actually isn't a 12-inch. But I don't see another paper that this would be, so I'm pretty sure that this is it. So this we actually want to cut. Sorry, they didn't give us the instruction on this, so we'll have to eyeball it a little bit here. I feel like this is too thick. I almost want this to be half that size. I want this to be half that size. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to take the adhesive off, and I'm going to use an embossing powder pouch, and I'm going to take the adhesive off of this because I actually think this feels way too thick to me. And in order to cut this, since I took it off of the backer, I'm going to need to lay this in my trimmer, and I'm going to need to cut it. And so I want to take the adhesive off of it so that I can do that. So I'm going to lay this in my trimmer. This is a 1/2 inch right now. So I'm going to take it down to a 1/4 inch. And the nice thing is it does have a little bit of sticky still on it, so that I look like I didn't do that quite right. I didn't measure that quite right. I thought I did a 1/4. But I didn't do a 1/4. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to lay it in here. We're just going to get 2 really small strips. So again, this is the measure once, measure twice, cut once scenario. But that's okay. I think we'll make this work. And I think these smaller strips will be just fine. And then we need to trim these up because they only need to be, we'll manually trim this, I think, because I don't feel like doing math right now. So we're going to lay this down. Take out our scissors. And we'll just trim that guy up. And then this will go on the other side. Okay, so we need to add our adhesive to this, since now that we took the adhesive off. So let's go grab our adhesive and we'll add this. I need a little bit at this end. There we go. Okay, so we'll add this down to the bottom. And I am trying to line it up with the bottom paper as well. And now we've got that piece done, and then we'll take this other piece and we'll go on the other side. All right, so we are done with the left side of the layout. So we put all of our pieces together, and I'm actually happy with that thinner piece on here versus the thicker piece. So I don't think that that detracts too much, and I don't think that was too big of a deal to not use that full 1/2 inch size. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take this off, gently lift it. Remember, I did glue that down a little bit, and there is some adhesive, it feels like I got on those flags, so we're going to go ahead and grab our ribbon remove and take that adhesive off as well. When I put that one pattern paper down, I put too much adhesive, so we're going to take that off. Keeping it real here, people. A lot of times when I do my videos, you don't see kind of this happening because I've edited it out or I've reshot something when I do my videos, and so you don't end up seeing kind of some of these blunders that inevitably happen when you're crafting. Doesn't matter what kind of crafting you're doing. Okay, so that is layout 1. Now we're going to go and do layout 2. So for those of you who are kind of hanging with me, again, feel free to ask me any questions about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So I gutted the other paper. I'm going to do the same thing with this base page. So I'm going to put it in at my 2-inch mark, and I'm going to start at the 2-inch mark on my rail and go down to 10. And essentially I'm just taking out this excess paper that we don't need because we're going to be layering things on top of it, and I can use this paper. I don't have a lot of Stampin' Up! Paper, and I definitely don't have a lot of the new two-toned paper that is out, so I do want to stretch the paper as much as I can for additional layouts, because you saw all the scraps that I had, or the excess that I had, and I will be able to get at least one more layout, possibly 2 more layouts from what is left over. And so I want to be able to use some of these colors that are matching to the paper pack, to the papers that are in the paper packs, so that I can, have it cohesive. Now, that's not to say I couldn't find some close to my heart colors that I have in my stash that would work. They would, but again, I'm trying to eliminate bulk from my scrapbooks, and so this is just one of those ways that you can do that, is by taking out the centers of these papers when you don't need to use. You're not going to see it, right? You're never going to see it. All right, so we are again on the light side of the paper, and I just dropped something, and I'm not sure what I dropped. I'm not seeing it. Okay, I'm not sure what I dropped. Oh, maybe that was what I dropped. Okay, hopefully that's what I dropped. Okay, so on the assembly now, we are going to attach the 1G, which is the specialty paper. So we're going to go ahead, oops, that one's out of adhesive. So we're going to go ahead and go up the sides here. And we know we just need to go along the bottom because I didn't need to put it in the center section there. Okay, pulling out our ruler, again, it's going to tell us on the assembly we want it to be 1/4 of an inch down from the top and 1/4 of an inch in from the side. So if I set my T ruler at 1/4 of an inch on my Versamat, make sure that I'm not tilting my ruler too much, and then I can eyeball the 1/4 of an inch down from the top. And again, I'm just using the lines on my Versamat here to try and get that all lined up. All right, so the next thing is to dovetail our pieces like we did before. So we're going to dovetail our 1H, our 1I, and our 1J. There we go. So those are those. And we're going to be using this side, and this side. Okay, so again, the opposite side of where you wrote your numbers. And same process, we're going to just eyeball the center, go cut up about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then come in from the sides. And again, same thing, the deeper the first cut is, the deeper the dovetail is, or the more extreme the dovetail is. And I'm just, again, eyeballing this bigger piece here. And hopefully this will be fairly quick, this piece, because we've gone through all these steps. And so now all we're doing is the assembly and gluing part. Okay, so on this one, you'll see that I got a little bit of my cut was a little bit off. And so I want to make sure that I even this out so that it doesn't have like that little lip there. So again, just making a correction there. And then that looks about right. So how many people have done Close to My Heart workshops before? And did I give you any other details or anything that was helpful? If you have done them, was this helpful for me to do a live walking through, again, how to use these cutting guides, the best way to use these cutting guides. All right, so then we're going to attach these. Yeah, I would love to know, because if this is something that you would like for me to do in the future as a live and walk through the process of going through the cutting guide and doing all of that work online or live, that would be helpful for me. Okay, so again, coming back, the first dovetail piece is going to be 3/4 of an inch in from the left. And again, you can use your T ruler to line that up so that you know where you're going to put this first piece. The first piece is usually the critical piece. If you can get the first piece lined up, then all of the other pieces usually will be it will be easier to line up, and you don't have to worry about them lining up. If that first piece you get right, then after that it's kind of it's just getting the other pieces laid down in relation to that first piece. Okay, so there's that one. And then we've got our last piece here. Okay. And again, we should be about 3/4 of an inch in from this left side as well. Okay. All right. So that is our first piece, our first things laid down. So now we're going to attach 1K, which is our trees again. So we're going to add this. And that is supposed to be 1 inch in from the side. So again, you can pull out your T ruler, and it's supposed to be 2.5 down from the top. So 1, 2.5. So roughly right there where that 3 mark is on that. And that will be our placement. Okay, so then we can add our photos. So these are going to be our 3x4 photos. Just pulling those out, looking at the placeholders. Okay, so then we've got our 3x4 photos here. This is definitely a layout. I don't generally only do layouts that have 3 photos on them. I probably would use flip-flaps on this to add more photos, or I might change the location of this piece here and add another photo. But again, I'm going to sort of follow along with the instructions, and like I said, I can add more photos just by putting some flip-flaps here as well. All right, so now that I've done that, now we've got our die cuts that we need. So we have, I have lost a die cut. I can already, oh, there it is. Okay, so we've got these die cuts, these die cuts. Oh, we need to put our piece, our sticker, our cut piece here. We need to add this to the bottom, so let's do that first, so that we get that done and we don't miss it. Again, this is still a little sticky from being a sticker, but not enough that it would stay down on the layout. So we need to make sure that we add adhesive to it. Again, trying to make sure that we're down at the bottom of this patterned paper. Adding that in, and then we'll just trim this up like so. Cool. Okay. So that's on. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is I am going to go ahead and put on the this flag for the journaling. And this doesn't give you any directions per se, but we're just going to center this in this block. Actually, yeah, we're going to do this because we're going to put something on top of that. So we're going to go like that. And then we have good things here. So that's a sticker. So we're going to go back to our stickers. Good times here. We're going to grab that little word sticker and we're going to put that at the top here. Like that. Okay, so we've got that sticker and we've got a place for our journaling. Let's go ahead and grab our trees and we'll put those at the bottom. Now they said use glue dots on these. Again, I find that the adhesive works just fine, so you don't have to worry. So having the thicker piece might have made it a little bit easier to get these trees grounded. So you don't want the trees floating up here. You need something to ground them on. So I am going to ground them on the strip that we did here. And that means they're going to be just a tiny bit lower than maybe they would have been if we had used the thicker one. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with having them not be that high up. I think it's just fine. My dovetail was not very deep, and so they are still covering part of that paper, so there's a relationship between the two. All right, so the next sticker that we're going to grab is leaves from all around. So that's this guy here. And this one I am going to pop up. So I'm going to take my embossing powder pouch again, and I'm doing this off camera so that I don't get all this powder all over my layout. And we are going to, okay, where did they go? I lost my, there they are, there they are, my dimensionals. So we're going to grab some dimensionals, and we're going to add those to this. We are going to be sticking some things underneath, so we don't want these dimensionals to be at the very bottom, or the very, actually the top is okay, but at the very bottom of it, we don't want the dimensionals to get in the way of us adding our embellishments underneath. So I have put in a request for foam tape because it's much easier to use foam tape than all these dimensionals when we're working with big pieces like this. So I have put in a request to actually have real foam tape as part of our offerings so that I don't have to buy it from somewhere else. Okay, so we are going to add our phrase here, and I'm going to go pretty close to the top, or to the bottom of the pictures there. And I'm pretty happy with that placement. And then we've got some stickers here that we need to pull from the sticker sheet. So we're going to take a look. We need this tree sticker here. We need this tree sticker, and we need this mushroom sticker. Okay, so those are going to go right underneath, and I'm not going to take the sticky off of this because I'm not going to pop these up. So I'm going to place that guy there, and then we're going to put this one here. And then this one I do need to pop up a little bit because it's going to lay on top. So I'm going to just grab one of the dimensionals and put it at the bottom here so that it's got the same height as the title. And we're going to add that right there. And then we're also going to add some dimensionals on this piece. So just looking at it, we want dimensionals here, it looks like. Yep, okay. All right. So anyone have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know. Okay, so kind of like that. Okay, there we go. That's done. So the last thing that we need to do is we need to put our autumn up here at the top, which is our letters, and the arrow. So we're going to go ahead and grab our letters off. Ran out of fingers there. Grab these guys. And we are almost done with this layout. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put down the first letter, or the last letter, the N, and the first letter here. And then we're going to try and space these out. And I want to make sure that the N is sort of straight. Okay, so we're going to work our way into the middle. Okay, so that's, I agree, this needs to be here. We need to come in a little bit on this side because that letter is getting lost on the green, or on the red brown. Okay, we're going to just move that guy in just a smidge. All right, that looks good. And then we need to find that arrow. Oh, I think the arrow is part of this. So that looks like this guy right here. And get that guy off. We didn't pull that off. Let's add a little bit of color to the arrow, which let's do the gold brown here, just so that it matches our other pieces. And we will add adhesive to this. And add that here. All right, I think we've got it all. I think we got all the pieces here. Okay, so let's bring in the other side so that we can look at both of these together and we can see how they relate to each other. So I really love this. I really love this layout. I love the circle element that breaks up the that is breaking up all of these squares and harder lines. I really like that. I really like the colors. I like the combination of papers and patterns. I just think this is just a really, really nice layout. Oh my, I look like I might be frozen. So hopefully I wasn't frozen for that long. Hopefully everybody is okay, and I didn't realize that I was getting low battery. I thought I had plugged myself in. So I don't know exactly where I got stuck, and that might be why we lost some people. But anyway, hopefully some of that will come through. And this is the final layout. And now I just need to make sure if I want to use my Thanksgiving pictures from Hawaii, or if I'm going to go find some other pictures that I can add to this very cute layout that I am absolutely in love with. All right, so I will be putting together the other two layouts, 2 and 3, but I will probably do those just as regular videos and not as lives. But if you are interested in me doing another one of the scrapbooking layouts from start to finish, cutting through layout number 1 or one of the layouts, let me know. I would be interested to know if that is something that you would be interested in me doing again. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day and Sunday, and I will see you on the next video.